Hey guys, let's get into throwing the cutter now. So let's first just talk about angles of the pitch. So real simple, this is your fastball, okay? So the cutter could be anywhere from here to here. So if we're doing breaking balls, this is fastball, cutter, slider, curveball. So my thing is a cutter is anything between a fastball and a slider, okay? So anywhere in here, so I'm looking like 1 to 2 o'clock on the clock is a cutter for me, okay? So if you think about it, I always use this example. If I were going to block you, let's say we're playing football, I was going to block you and I pushed you straight as hard as I could, that would be a fastball, right? Being pushed like this. Now let's say I pushed you just here, right? I pushed you just here. Right? So as hard as I could coming forward, fastball, right? As hard as I could coming here, cutter. So the thing is that you're coming through the ball and you're throwing the ball as hard as you can. So you're not taking anything off. You're going to throw your fastball as hard as you possibly can through, and a good rule of thumb is half the ball. Cut the ball in half and throw through half the ball, not around it. So every time when we go through troubleshooting, we'll go through a few of these, but you want to make sure that you're throwing as hard as you can, your middle finger's cutting through the half of the ball as hard as you possibly can. Don't back off this pitch at all from your fastball, okay? So again, force. Now, if I'm pushing you just as hard and I push you this way, where do I go? I go this way, right? Straight back fastball, cutter. So if I'm doing this on a baseball, this is pull back fastball, right? This is pull back cutter, and that's going to run through that way, right? So the fastball is going to come in, obviously go straight. So I'm putting all my force straight, and if I put my force to this side of it and I throw the heck out of it, now you're going to get that action that you saw Rivera have for so many years, where it's just going to be that anywhere from 3 to 4 to 6 to 7 inches of movement that you're going to get from the cut fastball, okay? So again, half the ball, throw through, not around, throw through the outside half of the ball, okay? So think about if this part of the ball didn't exist, right? And you just had to advance the ball using that, but you're going as hard as you possibly can. Don't try and pull anything off. Don't try and make it move. Your angle is going to make it move. Now, when we talk about angle, you do not want to be trying to find an angle into release point. So that's why when we talked about early on in myths, when guys are talking about shooting the gun and turning your finger and flopping the finger, I don't know, it's brutal. So think about it like this. Let's say your arm is going, you're going back in external rotation. It's coming as the fastest movement is not the forearm coming forward. The fastest movement is the wrist snapping into extension, right? So think about the fastest movement in your pitching delivery. You're going to try and turn, find an angle, and nail that sucker every single time. How well do you think you're going to do that? I'll tell you what happens is guys, that's how you're going to shred your elbow. But what happens is guys go too quick and they send that ball into the dirt. And then that's why they don't have a good cutter. So what you want to do as early as you can, set the angle of the cutter so you're just delivering that angle, okay? So some guys, as soon as they start their delivery, so if I'm doing it like from the side, as soon as they start their delivery, they kind of will turn and set their angle, okay? You could do it just as your hands separate. I've had guys that are pitching and they just set the angle right in the glove and throw. Now, you got to be wary of tipping your pitches. You don't want to do that, but what the most important thing is throwing an effective pitch first and then worrying about like if you're tipping it, okay? Because remember, everybody knew Rivera was going to throw a cutter, okay? So there's a lot more into that. So understand that, just set that angle as quickly as you can and then deliver that angle. And when we talked about grips, the one thing that I've always instructed pitchers do is squeeze this ball. Don't get floppy with it, because if you get floppy with this here, and what happens is when you come out and you throw it and you're a little floppy and you come here, we're going to talk about in troubleshooting. Well, we'll talk about in troubleshooting. Don't get floppy with it, right? So squeeze the heck out of the ball just like you would your fastball. Set the angle early and you're throwing half the ball. Let's review. I push, force coming through me, as much force as I got. I push here, same force coming this way. If I was blocking you, right? So the same thing here. Fastball, throw half the ball as hard as you can, middle finger through outside half of the ball. Not around it, through the outside half of the ball. And when we get to throwing it in the strike zone, you're going to see you're going to throw it to the same spot as your fastball. That's what keeps it in that fastball family. It's so hard to pick up. Okay, so again, half the ball, put as much force as you can through it, cut the ball in half, advance the ball, nothing flipping, twisting, turning, shooting, whatever they're saying. Get the ball, set the angle as quickly as you can right out of the glove, and then deliver that angle with as much force as you delivered your fastball.